do another little video here about ancient cosmology. This is a, I've basically been focusing mostly on the Japanese Buddhist hellscapes and, Japanese Buddhist symbolic maps. So this is from one of the northernmost sections of hell. I think this is basically the northernmost or the first level of hell. This is in Alaska. So this is basically Valhalla. This is the level, like in the Norse system, the first level is where the warriors are fighting each other eternally. So this is one of those kind of Einherjar, Stebbins like town in St. Michael Island, I believe, in Alaska, in Norton Sound, northern Alaska, only about 1,000 miles from Japan. So yeah, that's the head, that's the knee. I think I might have probably showed this one in the last video, but I'm just going to might retrace over a couple of these. This is him, so this might be his arm. I'm not sure how much of it is his arm. And then I've been focusing a bit on this one. This is Cape Hope in northern Alaska. And I think there's some other name for this peninsula, but I forgot what that is. But this one was confusing because it came after that other hell that I was just showing. And so I was assuming that the hells just go north to south because they say it starts with the top hell and it goes down, further below to each hell. But, this is further north, but it's technically below as well because it's further from Japan. So it's further down below the curvature of the earth. So, yeah, the order is convoluted, and I haven't deciphered everything in this map, in this panel, but this guy, he's holding the fishing rod, and then the line is coming down. He has this pointy, he has the horn on top of his head. That's like the main things. And then I guess his knee is has a weird skin flap sticking out there. And then his other knee might be, there's some, I don't know. But I'm glad to finally decipher this because I knew this would probably be, or I figured this should be in the maps because the maps focus on peninsulas, and this is a prominent peninsula in northern Alaska that's not far from some of the other hellscapes I had already deciphered. But it took me a while because of the order of the panels, and also because this guy is shown in the bottom of the panel. So it's certainly not immediately evident that he's a peninsula sticking out into the sea, basically on the top of, his area. But these are very esoteric maps. So, yeah. And this is the head that's there. I think I showed this last video as well. It's right there, I believe. And it's part of that same panel, which is, I think it's part of, well, I'm not sure what it's called. I think it's the hell of assembly, maybe. I'm not sure. But yeah, the blood's coming out. Yeah, so this is new. Like, this is a menhir, ancient stone pillar in Cornwall. It's like right around here or something. So my theory is that it actually looks like kind of roughly stylized shape of Cornwall, because I think most of these ancient stone pillars are cosmology. And so, they often probably contain celestial cosmology, but a lot of it was rooted in terrestrial cosmology, geography, topography. So here it certainly matches in many ways. Obviously it goes to a point at the end on the right, and it also kind of sticks out a bit before that on the left, and then it kind of indents before that on the right twice. There's like an indent here with a line, which is probably a river. Another indent here, probably with another river coming in. So, there certainly are a lot of rivers that come in from this side. So anyway, this is my theory, is that that's what this is, that the reason it's this solitary one in Cornwall is because it's a model of Cornwall, map of Cornwall. And then, they can just memorize. It doesn't have to be too exact, as long as they can find a makeshift way of symbolizing each place. They can do rituals that, are associated with each place, and it can be a useful mnemonic. Tremenhere Menher, a model of Cornwall. So yeah, that's where it's built. So it's pretty near the coast if sailors are like, if it relates to like navigation and whatnot. So yeah, Cornwall is southwest England, southwest tip of England. It's called Cornwall, potentially because it's shaped like a corn or a horn. I think the word corn and horn are basically like the same word originally, somehow. And maybe like grains are called horns because they just are pointy sometimes. All right, there's the head again. And so yeah, the hair, I think, is this shallow area here. That's this hair coming back somehow to there. And then there's some bangs. So the bangs are not as visible, but there might be something else there, or maybe it's been dredged away by moderns. This is the Point Hope demon, just zooming in zooming in on this area. And so it seems like the face is actually visible, whereas here it's kind of tilted diagonally, but here it's more or less looking straight to the right. So I think that his mouth, which kind of like, it's like a line, and then it goes up, and then there's a line coming down that connects to his chin or whatever. So I think that's this waterway here where there's a line, and then it breaks into two lines, one going up, one going down, and then this would be his eye. At least one of his eyes would be this dot, this kind of coastal lake or whatever. I think they're frozen, so they're white. And then this would be his chin. And of course, this is his arm, and I guess hand, and pole and line, and then this is like the little circle that attaches this to that, and this is where the pole twists back or whatever. And then, so anyway, well, this actually kind of looks like a gingerbread man or something, but if you turn it, I think it's this bird that's part of the same Hellscape panel. So, yeah, basically, here's the head, disembodied head that the bird is carrying. I think it's carrying it, seems to be. And then that's right here. That's that head island, which has no name on Google Earth. And then this would be the bird, like this, like it's hard to figure out every aspect of this, and especially, you know, whatever these weird like leaf tailed things. I don't even know if those are supposed to be part of the bird or not. Yeah, but at least the birds, I mean, the most obvious thing in common, other than the disembodied head, is like the bird's eye. You know, I mean, it does look a bit like a bird's head, this whole part, but it doesn't look exactly like that bird's head per se, not in every way, but the eyes are what, you know, are the best clue, I think, to the fact that it really is this, even though some other aspects don't fully line up. Like here, the mouth is closed, I guess, whereas here it's open with the arm in it. I suspect that that's a reference to the other nearest islands. You know, it's like this is navigational. So you're going through here, you see the head, you see the bird's head, you know, the human head, the bird's head. Then you see this long island and you see this other island. So I suspect that these islands relate to that basically this long island is an arm and this shorter island is a hand. And so this is the bird before it bit them apart, because these type of symbolic maps are almost always temporally different from how the geography or topography is actually. It's usually a before or after picture. So yeah, here's the head. So, you know, the eye, you know, again, is like the most obvious signifier that this bird shape represents this bird. You know, the eye part, it's dark, and then it has part that comes up. So, I mean, there are little parts that come up. I'm not sure exactly, though, what it's referring to there. Maybe just this one, and maybe it's changed over time. I'm not really sure, or maybe it's more significant closer up. But, you know, so this does look, you know, reasonably like an arm for being an island. And this looks reasonably like being a hand, I would say, or kind of a mitten or something. But, you know, as they show it, none of the fingers are delineated. You know, they are the ones that show, like, you know, you're not going to see any individual finger, just some generalized hand shape. So yeah, but the fact that the eye has this dark, you know, these dark shapes that go back so far, that's really the giveaway. And, you know, that the dark shapes kind of break into back here where the main one is down here, but there's like a smaller dark line above it. So that's like here, there's like the dark, bigger, bold line, and then one thin dark line above it. Guessing that's that. And I'm not sure with all this. I was first thinking these things were these islands, but now I'm guessing it's just part of the mainland, like these lines on here. You know, this round shape doesn't seem to match very well, like, but other than that, everything else matches. And like, you know, these things are somewhat stylized. I mean, there's like this bump on the forehead, I guess. So that would, I guess, be maybe right there and or there. But, you know, there's some degree of stylization in all this. And so, yeah, I definitely see like a hand shape there. And this beak, there is like an inlet there, so it could be like that's the upper beak goes to there, and then the bottom beak connects right there. So this is the, you know, Point Hope Peninsula demon's face, seemingly, one is the horn. 2 is this kind of lump on that side of his head. That's like this lump. 3 is the lump on this side of his head. So I'm just associating it with like this inlet and this kind of area, since there's no, I mean, really this side's flat. But so 3, then 4 is these little lines that are above the eyebrows. I'm guessing that's like the next inlet. And then 5 being the eyebrows. I'm taking this for being the eyebrows, this inlet here. And then 6 being the eye, like this coastal kind of frozen lagoon or something, be the eye. And then 7, whatever's going on in here, these little lines would be the nose probably. And then 8 would be the mouth, because the mouth is like this line that breaks and, you know, goes up and down at the edge. And so that matches this, where it goes up and down. And then the chin is like, has an indent in the middle on the bottom. So that matches this inlet here, where it's like this, you know, it goes up and then down. So where it goes up, that's like the indent in the bottom of the chin. And then there is kind of a line or more that go further on to potentially delineate the chin a little more, but it's not as bright or obvious as that. So anyway, it took me a little while to find the face, since it's looking at a different angle. You know, I was thinking it would be looking more like towards me like it is here, but as is often the case, the angles are changed to protect the innocence. So this is the face closer up, the eye, the eyebrow. So the shape of the eyebrow, you know, it has this weird shape where it's like, I don't know, it's doing a bunch of stuff. So I see a lot of that in here. Like it goes up and down and all around, squiggles around and whatnot. And then this would be the eye and the nose. Like the nose is not super obvious how it's supposed to be configured, but somewhere in there. And then I think this is the mouth. Let's see, this is also him with the chin. So, you know, you can see the indent in the chin, and there's some of these other inlets between the mouth and the chin, but I'm guessing they're not really shown on there. And they're not super huge. And the face is kind of framed a little bit by some of these shapes, so that's cool. Here's another angle. I think this is like diagonally from the north side, so it's like probably making this part bigger and this part smaller a little bit, but it's also making the whole thing wider and less long, because, you know, the chin is so far from the mouth that I was trying to do that to make it look a little more anthro. But you know, there's the chin, and here you can see this dark line, which I think is also part of the chin. Maybe that's like over here. And then the mouth, the nose, the eye, the eyebrow, this other line, and yeah, horn, Cornwall. Let's see. No, it's not Cornwall, it's Alaska, but it's got a horn or a corn. And so yeah, I think that's also the same way, done diagonally from the north. So it's making the horn a little overly big, but it's shrinking the chin down to a little more anthro size. And This just shows that whole area, and you can kind of barely see the mouth and the eyes right there. And yeah, he's holding up the pole, got the line, got the horn. And again. So yeah, this is done diagonally from the south, which seems to be a better tactic, arguably, even though it makes the chin even bigger. But yeah, so this line kind of continues from this line and continues the chin. So, kind of works pretty well for one of these type of things. And there we go. If you need any help, got the horn, the eyes, the mouth, and the chin. I didn't fiddle with the other little minutia, but and this ear is probably accounted for somewhere in there, but I'm not exactly sure. This is near me. I guess this is Monterey County, so one county over from me. This is Point Lobos, I think, is this whole area that is part of. And these peninsulas are like, Sand Hill area, Sea Lion Point, Sea Lion Cove, Sand Hill Cove, Headland Cove, kind of aptly named. So these two ghosts, they switch places. Again, they'll always switch something to make it more esoteric or for whatever reason, make it more dynamic. So yeah, this person with his hand above his head is there. There's his nose, mouth, tongue, hand. Then this person is over here with their hair sticking up this way and their lower jaw there. And then their arm is sticking out. So I think their arm is actually like this part here. And it's, that's why their arm disappears behind something, because it doesn't really go that much further, even though underwater, it's still like a gnarly area. So it might include some of that. So anyway, I kind of like these guys, especially I love this guy's fingers. They're cool. They look very fingery. And there's the Point Hope demon again, looking at the face. And the eyebrow. The eyebrow is like, I'm not sure this line here, but at least starting from here, it's like up, down, and then squiggly around. So like up, down, and then squiggly around. I can see it. And like with the mouth, it's kind of a weird shape. It's hard to know all the contours of it, but I'm guessing this part here is kind of around here-ish. I don't know. But yeah, and then the shape of this line, it's not just a line that goes up. It's like goes up and then out and up. So it goes up and then out and up again. This is 12,000-year-old Göbekli Tepe map of North America. And so, it says a zoomorphic avatar, a bird. This is the head is Louisiana, the beak and everything. And then, its eyes are like Lake Pontchartrain, and then this whole like bay and island there. And its wing is the Yucatan, its belly is Honduras, Nicaragua, and its feet are, Costa Rica and Panama down here. That's like the end of its feet here, and then this is just a separate type of thing, part of another animal. And its shoulders right there, like Monterey, Mexico. This is San Francisco, where I grew up. You know, there's all these, this is in the Japanese Buddhist Hellscape. So San Francisco is just shown as a bunch of like flames and smoke and ghosts that are getting burned. But they're kind of like smiling. So in a way, there's weird like hidden messages in these things. So a lot of the demons and even some of the ghosts are smiling. So, and they say this is the burning hell. The Bay Area is the burning or the great burning hell. But they also say that the burning relates to burning passions. So it's a lot of symbolism. But anyway, so these ghosts, there's this one which was is right here. That's her face. I believe this is a woman's face. And then her hair is broken into two by this thing. So the smaller part on here, and then the longer, bigger part of hair on this side. So the bigger part of hair is Islas Creek Channel, or seems to be, Islas Creek Channel there. And the smaller part would be Warm Water Cove here. And so this thing dividing them is kind of like relates to this part of land that divides those parts of her hair. And she seems to be another iteration of the ghost that is Monterey and Pacific Grove. And in that one, her hair is also split into two sections of long black hair. So yeah, this is her lower jaw, her face and everything. And then her, I think one arm is these mountains, and maybe this could be her hand there. I'm not sure. But I think her main hand comes out the other side right here. And so, this is also industrialized. It just looks like robots or whatever, but it's all built on original, things. You can't just build on water. You have to build on land or very, very high, underwater seamounts or whatever you call it. This part here, Hunters Bay Naval Stockyard, is the face of this other ghost who's like stabbing, or he's putting his hand on his eye. So his fingers are like these inlets that go in there where they dock the big war boats to, bomb countries and enslave people and whatever. So hopefully we'll kick out the Navy scum from there and like have it be like a real ancient, cool avatar again someday. This one's flipped retrograde, or at least their face is flipped retrogrades because they're actually faced this way. This is their lower jaw and head. I think this is a man. So they have a tall head, and then their lower jaw sticks out and then kind of goes up on the side. So that's like a candlestick point here. This other one's jaw is called Heron's Head Point. And this ghost's arm is this like freeway right here now. And his hand is this is basically Brisbane. This is San Francisco. This is South San Francisco, but it's like the city of South San Francisco. So it's bizarre that you have San Francisco, South San Francisco, and then you have to go through Brisbane to get to the other San Francisco. Brisbane's the interloper. The Aussies. I think there's a lot of Aussies that came to like for the gold rush. So maybe that's where they were, hanging out. And then this other ghost is South San Francisco. So this one's definitely smiling. Like this one kind of seems like it's might be smiling a little bit, and maybe even this one. But this one definitely seems like he's smiling, and it's based on this river that's like a big smile there. And then he's kind of squinting, and his eyes are like in here, and his eyebrows, but it's all like industrialized to shit. There's like, they call it the industrial city. So It's totally industrialized to heck. And then, yeah, this is where the airport is. I was there like recently. And I went along, I think we drove along here, and then I walked along this part, and then we drove along across Islas Creek Channel, probably at this part or something. I don't know. That was like a month ago. So there's San Francisco, Brisbane, and South San Francisco. Here's another one showing like the whole bay. So this has these ghosts are along here, and then this demon here is Oakland across the bay. So the bay is like the dark part, but they flip like the East Bay retrograde. They flip everything all around, so it's confusing. But like these parts are reversed, and so here they have this on this side, but this is actually Richmond, which is here. With this as up, you know, these are these arms sticking out, heads sticking up of these skeleton ghosts. And then this Oakland demon has these horns that form Oakland Harbor and has a big like arm, but again, he's flipped backwards, so he's faced the other way. Here's his mouth, Lake Merritt, and his knee, Bay Farm Islands, San Leandro. This is Alameda. Yeah. And then these Neanderthal faces here with the long Neanderthal noses are well, they're upside down from this angle, but they're like this peninsula and this peninsula, I believe, in Marin County, North Bay. And here's San Francisco again. So it's showing that these three ghosts are all in this map. They're all shown as, they're all outlined as the Bayview Hunters Point community. So this is like the ghetto, you know, it's a Black community. It's very polluted, you know, like the companies dump all their crap there. So there's a lot of cancer in the population there. Yeah, so we need to get rid of capitalism if we want to have like a future. But anyway. So yeah, this is like the Bayview area, and I guess this is the Hunters Point area. I mean, technically Hunters Point itself might be this, the original point. But yeah, we see the, you know, the one that, this one was near where I grew up. I grew up right here, this like hill there. So there's that one. This one here, and then this one here. So I'm just not showing the hand because that's separate down there. That's part of Brisbane. So yeah, this is all San Francisco. This is the Golden Gate Bridge, and this is the Bay Bridge that goes to the Demon's Horn in Oakland. There's Golden Gate Park. San Francisco, so yeah, Bayview Hunters Point community, and this is her arm that, I think one arm is on this side, like her right arm is here and maybe comes out as these little fingers there, or maybe doesn't come out, but her other arm, her left arm, seems to come out here as this being her hand. So these like docks or whatever piers seem to have been built on little peninsulas that were her fingers. These fingers right here. So part of her hands might be part of this part, but then the fingers come out there. Hard to know exactly what it looked like before the Navy got hold of it, but and there's this guy again. Candlestick Point guy. Candlestick Park was like the Giants baseball stadium was somewhere in here for a while, and then they shut it down, replaced it with some Silicon Valley crap, AT&T Park or whatever, and then now it's like they use the Santa Clara. They just rape the Santa Clara taxpayers for it. Big stadium. Here they are again. So this is really focusing on this hand, because this is when I was figuring out that her hand is shown, coming out the other side of something. So that to me is this, like it's coming from the other side of this peninsula and it comes out right there. So, and it's shown right in front of the face of this guy, which of course it is right in front of his face. So it's funny how they flip everything around and yet they still make it so sometimes even more accurate than if it wasn't flipped around, because they can show more things if they do it correctly. And then, yeah, here's South City guy. I call him the Grateful Dead because he looks like he's smiling. Yeah, where's... doesn't want to focus. Oh, well. There you go, better there. And so, yeah. This really shows all the details, if you want to see every aspect there, like this one has like a weird bumpy like arm, tricep or something. So that's like the bumpy part right here, because that's his face, and it's like bumpy tricep. And yeah, stuff like that. Grateful Dead, South City. And so it's hard to see all the details because of all the industrialization, but certainly this is like either an eyebrow or an eye or something. I think it's like his eyebrow. And then there's either an eyebrow or eye right here probably. But yeah, it's all covered with like big skyscrapers and warehouses and stuff. And there's the Candlestick Point one. Not sure exactly where Candlestick Park was, or where the ballpark was, but somewhere in here. Hopefully next time I go I can walk around this place and get some pictures like I did on the other ghost's head. It's like his lower jaw is cut off here, so that may relate to the weird shape here, and then his tongue is sticking up, so that I'm sure that's like this super shallow area there, because basically most of these guys are just super shallow areas that were only dry part of the time until they were built up by like modern people. But that made them even more important to be mapped, because when you can't always see something, you really need to know it's there. See how this is fingers coming in. I don't know if there were originally more things like this or what, but I'm pretty sure that's what that relates to. And his hair right here is this green part, I think. And his eye, I mean, everything's totally fucking, yeah, sure whatever his eye was, long gone probably. Paved over. So yeah, this one I walked along, you can walk along this path in the Heron's Head Park. So, and then this is this shallow area, which is, I guess these might be the upper teeth sticking out there. And here's this eyes right here, this eyes right here. And the ear, I think, is actually here, but I could be wrong. But this, I mean, would be wonky, but this is the best kind of earish shape like that. And then this would be like the hair that's right on top of the ear. So yeah, I mean, the angle is weird, of course. It's partly just how I did that photo, but here's this one again. And so these lines here could relate to these underwater, like shallow lines. I'm thinking they do. And yeah, and then his hair is probably, again, just shallow parts there. Yeah. It's the red hand of Ulster. It is the symbol of my people. Like in Northern Ireland, like northern province of Ireland is symbolized by the red hand of Ulster, which is the closest part of Ireland to Britain. So this is kind of a way to navigate around there in the Sea of Moyle. But now it's all, fucked up by moderns because they planted all these forests all over it. These are not natural forests. They're not supposed to be forests here, but the early capitalists, I guess, or in the 1800s, they like, we are so industrious, we'll just plant forests everywhere. I guess either nobody really remembered what the red hand of Ulster was or something, because I don't know why they would destroy their own symbol. But I don't know actually of any modern person who knows that this is the red hand of Ulster. But it's clear from the story that this is what it is, because it's supposed to be the coast of the Sea of Moyle, which means this. This is the coast of the Sea of Moyle between Antrim and Argyll's, Kintyre Peninsula type of thing. This is Japanese Buddhist symbolic map of England and Wales. So this is like person, I don't know if they're male or female, but their kimono or whatever comes down to a point here. So that's Cornwall. And, and then goes in and then it comes out with their hands up like they're doing some type of Islamic prayer or something. And then, so I think the hands are this and this. This, the hand is more together, whereas this, the fingers are more separated. So that matches with this. And then the head is the Lake District there. And I guess it looks like he might have a ponytail. So if so, the ponytail must either be this part here. Could be this entire part from here to there. Not sure. And then down here, it has this part that sticks out. So that's either this or this. Yeah. Guessing maybe it's this. And then this would be that. And then this would be right here where London is. This would be the Thames, I guess. Or wait, no, London is here, right? Yeah. London is on the butt and stuff like that, and then here's I don't know. See, I've been to these places. I've been to the Lake District. It's beautiful. Yeah, a lot of lakes, little islands in them and stuff. And I'm not sure about these symbols, if I could find those. I should look for these, see if I could find these actual designs. Like this is supposed to be around here. Maybe it's like this thing. I don't know. I mean, some of the, yeah, maybe it's like, who knows? But this is one of my favorites, honestly, because it's pretty straightforward. Like this one, they actually didn't really change it that much. It's basically in the same position. This is, Britain and Britain is, of course, England, Wales, Scotland. And so that dude is, or that person is England and Wales, and then Scotland is this other guy. Like Scotland is kind of the main character of this whole story. He's like the happy, good, successful guy with a happy family and everything. It's basically like the only happy thing in all of these panels is Scotland. Scotland was a very holy land because, you know, it's the traditional place. You know, it's closest to America, the underworld, and it was the traditional place that Celtic people, they said, you know, Europeans, if they wanted to go to the underworld, it was said they had to find a sailor on the Isle of Britain to ferry them across. Or it could have been referring, because originally Britannia was both islands, so could have included Ireland as well in that. But and then down here we just have Normandy and Brittany. And Brittany has this little top knot there, and Normandy has like its face, its head there, and then its hand next to its head, I think. And then Ireland is his wife, I believe, and then she's holding their child as Connacht Peninsula, whatever, and then her head is like Ulster or some part of Ulster, and her dress goes back into Munster, and her knees, I guess, are like Leinster. There's England and Wales again. So yeah, let me know if you find these shapes. It's like, it looks cool, but I guess it should be over in here. Some shape around there or around here. Who knows? There's Scotland. So it's a little confusing because I think, like, I did it this way. This matches for Galloway and Strathclyde here. But for the head, it doesn't match because the head is like at a different angle. So this, I think, is the head, like the nose, the mouth, the chin. And I mean, honestly, Orkney might be part of the hair. I feel like it should be part of it since the Outer Hebrides is part of the Avatar. Like he's, you know, his hand seems to be Sky holding the Outer Hebrides as this little gizmo or whatever it is. So yeah, I'm guessing that Orkney would also be included since it's also so close. So it might be his hair or part of his hair. And then all the stuff on this side is not super clear. Like this thing could either be this or something else. I don't know. But there's definitely a lot of weird peninsulas on both sides. Let's see, antecedents. So I've, you know, been reading D. Max Mormon's book, the Japanese Buddhist world map. So it just gives more background into these ancient, you know, Japanese Buddhist maps. So here it says, as the earliest extant Japanese map of the world, the map of the 5 regions of Tenjiku offers a rare window into the worldview of 14th century Buddhist monks. It reveals how monastics of the time imagined their world. So this is like the only map. Like this is the oldest map in Japan. Is I mean, it's not this one I'm showing, but it's another very symbolic map that's full of anthropomorphic cosmology and religious, you know, motifs. So it just shows like these are their maps. Like people think, oh no, those are just religious maps of hell. Like those aren't real maps. No, these are their real maps. There's no difference between these maps of America and the way they depicted Japan itself and the way they depicted Asia. And they were often all part of the same huge maps that included all of it, just like mine, that show Europe and America. So yeah, that was just their maps. Let's see. The center of Jambudvipa is Lake Anavatapta. It lies south of Incense Mountain and north of the Great Snow Mountains. It is 800 li in circumference. So the a bodhisattva of the 10th stage, having transformed himself into a Naga king, lives at the bottom of the lake and supplies pure water for Jambudvipa. So that sounds very much like it's, this type of anthropomorphic cosmology where there's some shape there that looks like a Naga king, like a snake king. The Ganges River flows from the mouth of a silver ox on the east side. So again, this is the only map that existed in Japan of Asia. And this is what it used, the same type of animal and humanoid shapes that all my maps use. They just say, there's some river, there's something that shaped like a silver ox in this lake or near this lake. Which after circling the lake once enters Southeast Asia. The Indus River flows from the mouth of a golden elephant on the south side. So again, that's probably an actual topographical feature, which after circling the lake once enters the Southwest Sea. The Oxus River flows from the mouth of a lapis lazuli horse on the west side, which after circling the lake once enters the Northwest Sea. And the Sita River flows from the mouth of a crystal lion on the north side, which after circling the lake once enters the Northeast Sea. It is also said that it flows beneath the Jishi. So yeah, I mean, I have yet to actually locate those animal shapes in Asia, but that's certainly what it sounds like that's describing. Mount Potalaka, a paradise of the Bodhisattva Avalokitesvara, appears as an oval cartouche in the sea directly below the continent. It is an island as in Jukai's cartography, rather than located on the mainland as in Zhuang's text. The western land of women is depicted as well, but within the continent. When Confucians talk about the world, they are ignorant of the 5 regions of India and the Western Sea. Let's see. So Jipan's textual claims for a Buddhist cartography, however, are robust and critical. When Confucians talk about the world, they are ignorant of the 5 regions of India and the Western Sea. He insists on a geography based on sacred texts and warns that if those who discuss the size and structure of the world do not rely on the Buddhist scriptures, their knowledge will be inadequate to the task. So again, this is science. Real religion is science. And the more I've studied and understood real religion, ancient religion, I've become like a trillion times better geographer than I ever could have been, just studying it the modern way. So I think he's right to a large extent. You're never going to get as full a picture just with a really normie, like simplistic model. Whereas with the Buddhist system, it's extremely thorough, extremely intricate. This shows just how these are the miles between lands. So, here's Alaska, Siberia, this is Asia, this is America. So there's 55 miles between Asia and America, and between that there's a bunch of islands, so you don't have to go the full way all at once. And meanwhile, there's 120 miles between Korea and Japan, and there's 110 miles between China and Taiwan. So if people are going to say, oh, well, that was 55 miles, nobody could have possibly sailed 55 miles before Columbus. Well, that would mean nobody would have ever inhabited Taiwan. Nobody would have ever inhabited, like, I mean, yeah, it's really stupid the way you really have to be functionally, I don't know, brain dead to like believe that people didn't sail back and forth forever. You just had, or, you know, you just had to worship authority and be like, okay, that's what they said. It must be true. Mariette Inlet. So this is again just showing the bird's head with the arm and the hand. So, you know, the hand, it would be like, this would be maybe the thumb, this would be the fingers area, and then this would be probably the place where it was cut off from the arm. And maybe this little island would be like some of the blood that came out of that. Who knows? Yeah. This close up showing the head of the bird. So, you know, it has this part that goes up there. So I'm guessing that could be this part. I'm not really sure. That's one of the things that's a little confusing, but the only real candidate for it would be this, even though it's not that much more dramatic than these other two little inlets. And yeah. And there's that guy with his mouth and his eye there, and his rod and line and horn. This is the beak of the bird, so it shows how there seems to be a weird channel between there. It doesn't even look natural, but it could be ancient. So that could represent the kind of like separation between the upper beak kind of curving and being pointy. And this is Stewart, Alaska, Norton Sound. It has a demon in the, you know, one of the northernmost Japanese hellscapes. So his arm is like this part, and it has all these weird things sticking off from it. And then he's, yeah, got all this knobbly stuff going on. This is his head, and he's like smiling, kind of. I don't know. I think he looks kind of cool. So this is, you know, one I've been toying with for a long time, but, you know, at least some parts of this I seem to have deciphered, if not the whole panel. So yeah, this guy seems to be this point something, or Cape Newenham, maybe. I think it's called Cape Newenham. So yeah, it's like he's got, you know, he's crouched over. I think this is his face is inside this bay, and then his arms are around his face. So I think one of his arms is like represented by this peninsula there, and he's holding this long mallet thing, which is like kind of serrated, or, you know, jagged on the bottom, and sticks more down on the bottom, so that matches more or less with that. And yeah, so this one, it's like, so I've determined that this part seems to be actually to the left of this guy, so I flipped him around to face to the left towards it in this one. And this, so it's like, you know, these things shooting up into the air, all these body parts, are the Walrus Islands. And this thing, the whole platform, is just whatever's surrounded by Togiak Bay and Kulukak Bay. So yeah, Cape Newenham. this is another panel where it seems to show Nunavak. So that means I have to redo another panel, which I mistook for being Nunavak, because I'm pretty sure this is the one. You got this person captive there, or this is their head, and this is their hands and feet tied together. And then there's this demon here with this weapon that's like a bident. So I think that's one prong of the bident, I'm guessing. And his face seems to be here. And then the shape matches well, you know. This comes down to a point, goes up, goes down to this point here, goes down further to this point, and then goes up and kind of around and down a little again. So anyway, I eventually decided that it was more accurate to have this guy on this side and to have this like this. So yeah, I think this is the scene. And it's pretty good. But there's a couple other characters in that scene that I'm not totally sure about. There must be something in that area. I'm thinking this is this guy. I'm not sure exact. I think his face is like up here, but I'm not sure what his bow is. If it's this part, I guess it's this part, unless it's like this way down here or something. But and then this thing behind him seems to relate to these shapes behind there. These guys are shown, let's see, they're shown right here inside this Nunavak. So I think they're actually in peninsulas inside this little, you know, bay in there. So, you know, I'm guessing that, I don't know. There's a good chance this guy, like his head is this, and the board is this thing, and that her head is this, her hair is the water around it, and that her titties are like these peninsulas here. Though arguably she has like 3 titties because they're all 3 pretty good as tits. So it's called Duchikluk Bay. Duchikluk. Say that 10 times fast. And it looks really beautiful in this, you know. I mean, I hate Google. There's CIA scum, MI6, but this is the only good thing they do is give us Google Earth. Oh yeah, this was a show I was watching, an anime called shit, what was it called? Magical. Oh yeah, Rye-Earth, I think, maybe, or I don't know. What is that? All right, so yeah, this anime, they go to the other world. They're like, it's one of these many animes that are focused on the 2 worlds concepts. And so, you know, the other world is America, Jigoku, but they can't really say that in that. So they just have it, you know, they just go from Tokyo to the other world. And in the other world, it just happens to be like the US, like in a lot of these animes. And then only at the end does it show a picture of the other world. And as in other animes like this, they base it largely on America, but with enough tweaks to claim that it's not. But, you know, it's very much the shape of America, like the Gulf of Mexico here. It's just that they turned the Yucatan Peninsula into like the Korean Peninsula, and they turned like the Floridian Peninsula into like the Lejo Peninsula or something. or maybe even the other side of the Yellow Sea. But this is definitely, like the shape of Central America and everything. So I think there are people that know the truth, but somehow they can only hint at it. Because I've seen other things very much like that. I mean, there are countless like animes that seem to hint at the truth that the other world is America, the underworld. All right, so this one is the head of one of those recent ones I was showing. Which one? It's the head of this guy, I think. Wait, is it? Yeah. No. It's the head of this guy. So it's like right there. So, usually the faces, you have to really zoom in to see it well. So in this case, his face, I mean, this is, this photo's not trying to show up. Yeah, it's not really showing me it there, but basically this is the face. This is the nose. This is like the mouth is around here. This is the brow ridge. See how my phone was like not letting me edit photos at that time, but I just did this instead. So see the nose, the brow ridge, the horns up here, and the mouth, and then there's this line that comes in. That's this river. And it goes kind of there and curls a little bit. So, yeah. It's most distinctive by the nose and the brow ridge and the horns. What the F? What is going on with this? I think I zoomed in too much. All right. So there we go. Like the horns, there's a separation. So this horn could probably includes this island that's just off the end of it as this. There's this horn there, and then the major brow ridge jutting out here. The nose sticking straight out at an angle, very Neanderthaloid nose. And then the upper lip seems to be this part right here, and then the mouth seems to include both this inlet or lagoon or something and this river. And then the bottom, like the chin or whatever, is a lot more kind of vague in terms of the actual topography, but it's got to include this area. And not super sure about the eye or some of the other details. I guess like this line here could be this like entire lagoon there. I don't know. So yeah, decent type of avatar there. Nunivak. This is an old avatar, Egyptian avatar, parts of Japan. There's like Okinawa as this dude with this hat that's kumijima, like a crown, which is like the crown. I mean, it's said to be the crown of northern Egypt, but it's, seems to be kumijima. Has this like curly part come out. Then this bird seems to be Miyakojima. And this, and then there's this guy in the same panel, or on the same artifact holding this shape, which seems to be Ishigaki, another little island of Japan. And so, yeah. And then his beard. I think this part is his beard. And this part is like the thing he's holding. He's holding like a something. And then this is like his throne, his little seat, little chair, his big ass like feet. Big heffalump feet. This is a 40,000-year-old or 20,000, or I don't know how old it is. Should be at least 20,000 years old. Lascaux painting of Australia as a bison, Papua as a birdman or a Neanderthaloid, and then, but I think it's like a birdman, and then the Philippines as this animal, and then the Lesser Sunda Islands as the birdman's Atl there, and Palawan and Buswanga as this bird and his pole. So, Egyptian map of Newfoundland as a rabbit. Ancient Egyptian map of Baffin Island as some kind of horned animal. These are ancient Egyptian maps of America from different coffins in the Middle Kingdom. They're all about 4,000 years old. This shows the Rio Grande at its widest part, I believe. Falcon Lake. Let's see. This is Cuba, Hispaniola, Western U.S. So this is Göbekli. Göbekli shows these things as birds. Like there's this one bird whose beak is Delmarva here, and then his legs are Florida. This other bird is Cuba here. This other bird is Hispaniola. But also together, these birds form a face. So that's something that's also found in the Buddhist maps, where you'll have a overall map with, anthropomorphic shapes in it, and then the overall map is also is an anthropomorphic face. Let's see, Mayan deity. This is a 5,500-year-old Egyptian map of, Haiti, Dominican Republic, Hispaniola Island, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin, or the Leeward Islands. And the Virgin Islands are right there, but, and it probably includes some of these seamounts and stuff. So it's like a headless horse. All right, let's see. Maybe I'll skip some of these and go to whatever's my newest things before I end this video, because it's gone on for a while. Let's see. Wow, there's a lot. So yeah, here's a Mayan map of Alaska as like an elephant, likely representing also the planet Jupiter. And then this sky, I think, is Kodiak Islands. So yeah, here's the head of that other demon, the one with the big mallet. And so his horns would have to just be this and maybe this. And maybe there's kind of underwater, there's some shapes too, but that's the best I can do for the horns. I'm guessing it's those two, even though the angles are awkward. This is showing how the ancient Greeks were black. I taught a Black history class called When the Earth Was Black. This is a depiction of ancient Hebrew, supposedly in Egypt. So it's shown as a black man, just how the Egyptians themselves were shown. These are African, artifacts, ancient African artifacts from West Africa. So yeah, these are all things I used for my class. This is Aristotle, Greeks, Minoans, Greeks, Hebrews, Mayans, Greeks, Polynesians, just showing that the earth was black, like pretty much everybody was black until like modern times when like the white people killed everyone and like replaced them. Korean guy, natives, Australian. All right. This is a study from the Smithsonian showing DNA evidence that Native Americans routinely went back and forth between Asia and America and interbred with Asian people, so that modern Asians have Native American blood from ancient times, like 7,000 years ago. This is about how the Europeans were black and dark skinned before before modern times. These are Asians, Greeks, Persians, Greeks, natives, Australian, Egyptian, Native Americans. Most ancient Europeans had dark skin until 3,000 years ago, study finds. So a lot of people want to believe these type of studies are just, some kind of Netflix DEI woke whatever the fuck. But no, there are almost no scientists who really give a shit about politics. So if that's what they found in the DNA, it's because that's what they found in the DNA. I mean, I'm not saying there are no scientific studies that are skewed for politics, but I don't think that's what this is. This is my poster for my class. Black History Symposium, when the Earth was black. So yeah. Class went okay, but I only had 2 students, so probably be my last like in-person class I'll do this year at least. This is the Bayview Candlestick Point Brisbane Ghost in San Francisco area. This is Nunivak and the Archer and the Ghosts in Alaska. So like they're flipped retrograde. I think the ghosts are flipped, or the people on the ground are flipped retrograde. This is kind of like a face with like eye, nose, and chin and stuff. Another face in Alaska, I think. This is the ghost, the Archer, and the ghosts, and their hands and arms are flailing around. So I think this is at least one of their arms. This and the arrow too might be one of those things. This, I think, is the Archer's face. Like he has this long nose. I think that's it. And then the horns might actually relate to these shapes. I'm guessing that's like an underwater elevated shape. So the library actually posted my poster this time, which is a minor miracle. There's another face. Here's these ghosts with their arms out, and I don't know what's going on. This is a ghost in Norton Sounds. This is Cape Darby. This is her face. This is like her hair coming down, like her kind of sideburn thing, or that his or her sideburn thing. And then this is her weird fingers coming down there. They kind of flipped her hand retrograde like they did some others in that scene. This, I'm guessing, is this. I mean, it's very convoluted, but I'm guessing that's, yeah. somehow. Like, I'm guessing this is one of his arms, and that this is the hook that goes through his face. And I think it's upside down, so I think this is like his legs where it cuts off. This is his butt, and his face is like here. Yeah. And so this is from that book. And so, not sure why I took this photograph, but there's probably a reason. Buddhist, oh yeah, I think it's there. It's like Buddhist cartography was and would remain inseparable from the larger order of Buddhist cosmology. The geography of the Buddhist Holy Land and of the entire Buddhist world would be forever bound to a classical picture of the Indian universe. Yeah. So this is the main Japanese world map that it's focusing on. So the writer and all his sources don't seem to notice that it's a face, that it has a smile here, and then it has a third eye right here. That's the lake with the four heads. And then I'm not sure if it might have other eyes and nose or something, but at least it seems to have the big smile and the third eye, the Buddha eye. Here's another version of the same map. The third eye and the smile. The third eye represents this type of cosmology, the ability to see like the earth as it is from above. This is just showing how most claims, or a lot of claims, of ancient human sacrifice are just bullshit, just scientists who are just liars. Thousands and thousands of scientists, if not millions, are just liars and will just say anything as long as it gets them a check. And so human sacrifice sells. White people love stories of brown savagery. So why would you just say, oh, I just found some skulls, when you could instead be like, oh, I found a human sacrifice, and all these people be like, oh yeah, I love that shit. Oh man, I'm so glad we conquered those people. Blah, blah, blah. So anyway, maybe I'll just read this real quick. Yes, several purported cases of ancient human sacrifice have been reevaluated, nuanced, or debunked by modern forensic science, DNA analysis, and updated archaeological contextual analysis. While human sacrifice certainly existed in many ancient cultures, new evidence has shifted interpretations from routine sacrifice to either mass executions, social outcasts, or in some cases entirely different interpretations of death. Here are key examples of reevaluated or debunked sacrifice claims. Windaby girl, Iron Age Germany. For decades, this bog body was believed to be a young girl who was sacrificed and possibly scalped for adultery based on a mistaken 19th century interpretation. Reanalysis in the 21st century revealed that the body was actually a 16-year-old boy who died of malnutrition, and the scalping was a result of recent damage, not ancient violence. Maya sacrifice victims, Chichen Itza. Early 20th century accounts popularized the idea. God damn it. Wait. The idea that young women were primarily sacrificed by being thrown into the sacred cenote or whatever at Chichen Itza. Recent DNA testing of 64 children found in a nearby underground chamber revealed that all were young boys, many of them related, suggesting a completely different male-focused ritual. It doesn't suggest any ritual, dude. Finding bodies, it's like, wait, did ancient people die? Were they buried? Yes, dude. Unless it says on the tombstone why they're buried there and how they died, you don't know shit, but people just see any skull of a pagan and say human sacrifice. Retainer sacrifices at Ur in Mesopotamia. Sir Leonard Woolley initially suggested that attendants found in the royal cemetery of Ur drank poison voluntarily to join their masters. Modern CT scans and forensic analysis indicate many died from trauma, blunt force to the head, and were later exposed to heat and mercury vapor to preserve their body for display, suggesting a violent, involuntary death rather than a peaceful, voluntary one. They don't know shit about how these people died. You know, like, they can barely figure out any murders from right now. If you find a skull, you don't know who hit them or why, or if they fell on their fucking head. But people need to believe this type of stuff. Bog bodies. While many bog bodies, such as Tolan Man, show clear signs of ritual killing, what this is so stupid to think that you can just see a sign and be like, oh, this is obviously a ritual killing. Others previously, like, any way that you could kill somebody ritually, you could also just kill them because you don't like them in the same way. Pretty much, like, these things that they're trying to claim, like, oh, it's blunt force trauma. Yeah, maybe somebody didn't like them. Maybe they were in battle. Others previously assumed to be sacrifices have been reevaluated as potential victims of murder. Yeah, no shit, dude. Let's see. Maybe that's it. Yeah. All right, I'll try to end this soonish. But yeah, here's this guy. So I'm thinking this like weird slope here. That's like the slope right here. And the hook going through his head is like this, coming out the other side. And that this is at least one arm. I don't know. He has another arm that maybe is not accounted for. But that this is where his legs go under the water, so they're invisible. This is his butt, I guess, there. And this is from the same book, the Japanese Buddhist World Maps. The fifth and final map of the scroll is the largest and most comprehensive. Let's see. The sun and moon are depicted on either side of Mount Sumeru. So that's definitely symbolic cosmology. So the scroll's map of Tenjiku, like its map of Japan, is thus situated within a classical Buddhist cosmology that is at once physical and metaphysical. So that describes all the maps that I study. As with Shippon's encyclopedic presentation of Buddhist India embedded in the Mount Sumeru world, the scroll incorporates Japan and Tenjiku within the larger Buddhist universe. Buddhist cartography and Buddhist cosmology are necessarily independent and co-articulated. Well, yes, because the geo, which is Earth, is part of the cosmos, which is the cosmos. So I would hope they would be connected. So yeah, it includes the hells, description, listing the names and descriptions of the 8 hells, which lie 2,000 yojanas beneath the Earth's surface. So, you know, this is like the most thorough Japanese map of the world. Like, this is what they would use to go anywhere. And it included these underworld maps. And you know, those maps are still used today. You know, in Japan, they're still important maps. Nunavak here, you know, with the demon there and the person there. I just changed the coloring of it. So I don't know if it's this one, but I know there's one of these pages where they say that the reason, like, the translator of these maps, the guy who copied the maps, says like that I copied this map, and when he says when I copied it, it was that like I went to these places, And he says that, I copied these maps so that Buddhism can spread. So that I brought this map from this other part of Japan and copied it and brought the copy to my part of Japan so Buddhism could spread, because these maps are Buddhism. Like, that's the heart of Buddhism, is just these symbolic maps. I mean, there's also some moral parts and stuff, but morality is not religion. Morality can sometimes be a part of religion, but religion is symbolic cosmology. All right, so yeah, I can't find that one where it says that, but even the process of copying the maps was like a holy act, which was done by monks in temples. But it makes sense why modern Buddhism is sold to like Europeans as just, and like white people as just being like something where you just meditate and you can negate reality somehow, like push out facts and logic and just have feelings or something. It's enlightenment, but like really enlightenment, according to the actual traditional Buddhists, is understanding cosmology and understanding other things, but the heart of it is cosmology. Just like all these type of maps that the Australian Aboriginal people make, like this, that's a very intricate map of her land. All right, I'll leave it at that. Hour and 30 minutes. Take care, and yeah, peace.